Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial. Today's tutorial I'm going to talk about Spring and RESTful web services. So the REST has become a de facto standard for web services. Many of the companies nowadays are going for RESTful web services instead of SOAP. Spring is a very popular framework for building Java-based web applications, and Spring supports REST in all aspects of web service development, including actions like the get, post, put, and delete, caching, redirection, and forwarding, and then security for encryption and authentication. So that means that the Spring framework actually provides all of the necessary things that the RESTful web services need. So that's why they match properly. Now, this Spring RESTful web services, whenever we are going to develop that, we need to come along with some annotations. And you can see from the PowerPoint over here, the annotations are REST controllers. So that means whenever we are going to write a controller, we have to define that as a REST controller annotation. So if we look at the code over here, you can see that this is a new project I have, J107, and within that I have just two controllers, just to make it simple. And within the member controller, we can see that the public class member controller is annotated with REST controller. That means this controller is going to be a REST controller. Okay, and that is the annotation that we are going to use. Now, we can see over here that there are a few other annotations, the get mapping, and then we can look over here that /employees, which is the aggregate to root, and this is the URI path that we need to go through in order to get the list of employees maybe. And then there is another one, the get mapping, the same annotation, but you can see like there is a slash, and within the curly braces we are passing on the ID. So in this case we are asking for a single employee, passing on the ID, and then we are just expecting a simple employee object. And then response body, response is rendered straight into the response body. So now let's take an example over here that if we are going to fetch some information, this is what I have developed over here, HTTP localhost, and then I'm giving the port number, and then member list. Okay, so this is the server location with the port, and then I'm passing on the path to resource, and in the path to resource is a member list, and this member list will return a list of members. Okay, so now let's look into the code how it looks like. So again, we are passing on the server information or the host information, and then we are passing on the specific URI to get the method, sorry, to get the object. So now let's get or let's look into this. You can see over here it's a get mapping, and then this is my path member list. Okay, and it's returning a list of members, and this is the method get member list, and I'm throwing a business exception as usual, and then this is the member service. So the architecture is again going to be same. We are going to have a service layer, and then we are going to have a data layer. In the data layer we'll be using something else called the JDBC template, but let's focus on just this controller. Okay, and then we are receiving a member list, and this is what is being returned. So now if I am going to type this on over here, so this is my server. Okay, and you can see that I typed on localhost 8080 port number and then member list, and this is all the list of the member. Okay, the list of the member coming on or coming as a JSON object. So now let's look over here and let's get into a new page. Okay, so it's coming as an array. So this is what we are looking over here. And then we are having the first object as member ID 1, and then member name, let's say SF, and then member ID 2, and then member name, let's say Jack, curly brace, and so on. Okay, so this is an array of objects returned as JSON. Okay, so this is what the when the client is going to request, the server is going to return all this information to the client. And in our case, the client is what? The client is going to be an Angular. Client is Angular in our case. Okay. But remember that this client can be anything, okay, other than Angular, or it can be a Java or whatever. Okay, so that's how it works. Again, the client needs to know this the server location and server path, and then the client needs to request for a specific object, and when it reaches to the server, that means it comes over here, and it looks for the specific URI. In this case, it's a member list, and then it's returning a specific object. So this is how simple it is. Now, these are the few annotations, and then let's look at some other annotations. We are already familiar with these: the component, service, and repository, and we all know what they are doing. There is another annotation, is the component scan, which looks for the packages for the components. And after that, this is the Spring REST code. Return a single item, as I said before. If we are passing on, it's a get mapping. So this is the annotation, is a get mapping. We are expecting a get request with, this is the path to the server, employees, and then ID. And this ID is passed on over here. And then we can or the service can then return the specific employee. And then when we are expecting something, a collection as a list, something like that, we can do like this. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.